So I was taking my son to the park, and I would use the box behind the rim as my target. So that's in the book. You know, the father is using the box as the target in the book, but that's a box. That's geometry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the support systems for the backboards are triangles. That's geometry. So these are things that I had already. It's not like I went to the park thinking how can I infuse learning into my children's book? Not like that's already things that were in my head. I'm a photographer, amateur, but I've licensed photos to Nike and to Foot Locker and stuff. And I've taken photos of backboards because they're beautiful to me. Like, you know, because again, like I'm just a basketball nut, you know, like everything is beautiful to me. The cracks and the asphalt are beautiful to me. You know, people be like, oh, they haven't fixed the court. I'm like, no, it's beautiful. Like, you know, look at these, it gives so much texture. So I'm a little bit extra with my love and passion for basketball. But yeah, it's all in the book.
That's what's up.
Malik's First Job Podcast, here to answer any questions that y'all ask. Financial literacy and resources. Parents and young people becoming bosses. CEOs, future leaders, entrepreneurs. Conferences and boardrooms getting sponsors secured. If you want generational wealth, Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip with information to help. Malik's First Job Podcast. Malik's Podcast. Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip. Kerwin Phillip. Malik's First Job Podcast. Brooklyn's own Kerwin Phillip. Generational wealth.
Peace, everyone. How you doing? Welcome to another episode of the Malik's First Job Podcast, where we speak about leadership, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy for parents and teens. Today, I got a special treat for you all. I have the great Bobbito Garcia, a.k.a. Cool Bob Love, on the show today. And for those that aren't familiar with Bobbito, let me give you a short bio. Bobbito Garcia is a New York City native who has an indelible footprint on multiple urban movements. The critically acclaimed author of the book, Where'd You Get Those? New York City Sneaker Culture from 1960 to 1987, is also a world-renowned DJ who co-hosts Stretch and Bobbito Radio on Apple Music Hits. He's also an award-winning filmmaker of the film Doin in the Park, Pick Up Basketball NYC, which aired on PBS, as well as the documentary Stretch and Bobbito, Radio That Changed Lives, that aired on SHOWTIME. So myself, I was introduced to Bobbito as a teenager from the Stretch and Bobbito radio show that aired, in New York City through Columbia University, right? A friend of mine put me on, and from there, it just opened me up to so many things. So let's go ahead and welcome Bobbito to the show. How you doing, brother?
Woo-wee. No, welcome to you, man. I thank you for having me on. You hit me up on TikTok. I've been on that platform trying to, figure out how to help market my new book, Aim High, Little Giant, Aim High. And, it's been introducing me to a whole world, the whole hashtag book talk, hashtag author talk. And, it's been great because I feel like I'm interacting with people who I might not have naturally otherwise. And props for what you're doing with literacy, particularly for Black and Brown children and teens. My son plays a game called Cents for Sense.
Okay.
Which is, about financial literacy. He also reads a book called Danny Dollar. So, myself and my co-parent, who's African American,
right?
We definitely, put him on as much as possible. And like, he knows what a 401k is at 9 years old. I'm like, I didn't know.
What's up.
Yeah, when I was 9, I didn't know what that was. I thought that was a train station or something. It's great that you're helping and supporting that literacy, for our communities to build and grow and expand upon, for sure.
Oh, man, I appreciate that. So I know that, again, I was introduced from the radio show, right? For those that aren't familiar with the radio show, that who are some of the people that you introduced to the world?
Well, good question. So as you mentioned, I've directed the film Stretch on Bobbito Radio that changed lives. It's still on YouTube, Amazon, Vimeo. You can download, stream, rent it. It was premiered on SHOWTIME, and then it got licensed to Netflix for 3 years.
Right.
And, but essentially, me and Stretch, in an 8-year period from 1990 to 1998, we provided the first public broadcast of a number of unsigned artists who wound up changing the face of the industry.
Right.
And also, uplifting the culture at the same time. So Nas, Biggie, Wu-Tang, Mobb Deep, Big Pun, just a few to mention, right? Who were like literally teenagers with no contract, with no album, just a demo. And in some cases, not even with a demo. When Nas came up to our show, he did not even have a demo yet.
Wow.
And so, we're very grateful to have been in that position to help our community. Our determination for who would be a guest on the show was not, whether they sold 1 million copies or whether they had a top 10 record. It was just like, who's the nicest, who's the most skilled. We want the best show that we possibly can. And so, in doing so, we wound up helping raise an entire era.
Right.
As what people look in retrospect as gatekeepers. And so, it was a beautiful era. Very, very grateful to have been a part of that.
That's what's up. Now, as we see that hip hop is coming into its 50th anniversary, you ever reflect back on the role that you all played in pushing the culture forward?
Yeah, I mean, all the time. I can't avoid it, because I'm doing a press campaign for my book, Aim High, Little Giant, Aim High, and all anybody wants to talk to me about is the 90s hip hop radio show. It's fine, because there's still people who are young who don't know about us, and so I'm grateful when people want to provide this sort of backdrop on who I am, as a kid's book author, with this historical context. This dude is a basketball. He played pro ball in Puerto Rico. This dude, is the progenitor of sneaker journalism. This dude, is a hip hop legend from the 90s. It's nice that people can see that I'm not one-dimensional.
Right.
And also, my book, Aim High, Little Giant, Aim High, reflects that.
Yeah.
Because I went to Wesleyan University and I was a sociology major. And because I have experiences in basketball, sneakers, hip hop, music, traveling, tried and true New Yorker, I infuse all of that into the narrative of my book.
Yeah.
But certainly, I'm glad that hip hop is celebrating its 50th anniversary, that we've gotten this far. I am born in the 60s. I can remember in the 70s when people were detracted from the culture and didn't think it was going to last. There was a gimmick, there was a fad. We kind of destroyed all that thought. It's I'm a member of the Kennedy Center's initial hip hop culture council. It's we're not turning back at this point.
Right.
And so, let's look forward to the next 50 years and how we can evolve the culture and help it empower people, globally, which is what it's been doing for decades.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Peace. Check this out. My company, Kufu Enterprises, LLC, has partnered with Atlantic Union Bank and Bonsai to offer free online financial literacy modules for middle and high school students. You can access these courses at maliksfirstjob.com under the Education tab. These courses cover a wide range of topics that will help our children increase their knowledge about money. So please, visit maliksfirstjob.com and register your child for these free online courses. Peace. So with all that you've done, in music, basketball, again, pushing sneaker culture forward, what motivated you to want to write a children's book?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Myself and my co-parent, we are unschooling our child, and doing self-directed learning at home and outside, is a beautiful experience. Very bonding. I'm learning a lot as well, because I'm like, wow, like I forgot, what's the trapezoid? Like, it's like, so, me being Boricua, right? And, finding some books for my child, but not a ton, early on, my co-parent was like, yo, you should write a children's book. This was in when I was directing films, and, I've directed 3, right? So I did Doing It in the Park, Stretching Bobbito, and then my last one was Rock Rubber 45s. And, for those 2 years, 3 years that I was working on each, it was like on top of like being a full-time primary caretaker of my son, it's a lot, Plus I was traveling, I was DJing, so, push forward. I finished the 3 films. I was asked to direct a series on ESPN called Sneaker Center in 2019. 2020 comes along, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, now I'm home. I'm not traveling, during the pandemic. And it opens space because I'm not directing a film currently. Like it opens a space for me to be creative in other areas. And then We Are Little Giants, which is a brand that makes clothing as well as books. They're Black and Puerto Rican owned, founded, beautiful couple, they reached out to me like, yo, like, would you write a kid's book for us? And it was crazy because like I had always had this idea of writing a kid's book since my son was born, And so they gave me like complete freedom to write about whatever I wanted to. And I decided to write about, the areas that I know best, basketball, because, also I had never seen a kid's book about basketball that wasn't, that was outside the context of like 5-on-5 or, usually like indoors or uniforms or, like my book is about basketball outdoors. Yeah. In New York. Like, please tell me another book about, and then, the protagonist is Diana, which, there's very few books that are written in the kid space. Well, the ones that are written about basketball, generally it's a boy as the main character, right? And so I just tried to challenge myself, like up and down, and but it was liberating. I never wrote fiction, I started writing for the Source magazine in 1989. I wrote for Vibe magazine for 10 years as freelancer. I had a monthly column. I authored a book. Where'd You Get Those? New York City Sneaker Culture, 1960, 1987. I directed 3 documentaries. Like I've been doing real life, nonfiction for 30 plus years. And then comes along, I can create composite characters. I can name the protagonist whatever I want. Like, I can create a story and go wherever I want. Like, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience, and then, holding the hand of the illustrator, Estefania Rivera Cortez, who is not from New York and knows nothing about basketball. So, which is why I chose them, because I was like, they can create something that has an entry point for people outside of my organic audience, which is basketball, hip-hop, Black and Puerto Rican culture. You know what I mean? Like anybody can enjoy this book because they see the colors and they're like, whoa, like this is not what I would expect of a New York. This is not what I would expect of a New York hip hop head, right? People, this book is a total curveball, but I like doing that. I don't like doing what people, as a DJ, even like, I always tell people like, expect the unexpected. You can't box me. You can't corner me. So,
Yeah. So, I got a chance to check out the book, and as you said, it's very colorful, right? The images and stuff, within the book itself, and just the way that they portray the characters is very different from what you would expect coming from Bobbito. Now, also what I like about the book as well is that it's a children's book, but it covers so many different topics, right? There's lessons in diversity. There's history lessons, the importance of self-care, meditation and focus, history, mathematics, geometry. Yep. Why was it important for you to put these lessons within this book?
That's the bugged out thing, Kerwin, is that it's not even like I tried.
Okay.
That's just, again, it's based on real life experiences between me and my son during the pandemic.
Right.
And, that's just our life. Like we go to the park and there's a Japanese kid there. And there's an Arab Muslim kid there. And there's a kid from Ghana. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like, some of the characters in the book are based on kids who my son interacts with,
Right.
And it's not like I had this mindset of like, oh, I got to make it diverse, so that it checks off on the diversity. Like, nah,
right.
that was just, our lives in Brooklyn,
Wow.
we're vegan, we're unschooling our son at home. So, some people might think these are very alternative methods, but, we just see it as like, that's just who we are. We don't see ourselves as alternative. We just see ourselves as, and I wanted to infuse those sort of like, experiences into the narrative in an organic way so that no one felt like they were being lectured, just like that's just a story, and, the kid, is proud of, their heritage, and there's moments where, there's like little breadcrumbs to historical facts and Black and Puerto Rican history and culture. And, I really hope that the book opens up the door for further research, I kind of want to create a teacher's guide actually, because we're talking to the NYC Department of Education to get the title, incorporated into curriculum in a number of public schools. And I mean, the book is so chock full of learning, it's ridiculous. I mean, and it's real life. I used to take my son to the park,
right?
And I'd be like, yo, like, count how many shots I take and count how many shots I make.
Right. When
he was 5, when he was 6, so he was learning ratios and he was learning counting, and then I'd be like, all right, cool. These shots are worth 2 points. Count by 2s. And he was counting by 2s. All right, these shots are worth 3 shots. Count by 3s. And I was teaching my son, talk about, unschooling, and it's like the basketball court is such a fertile ground, for learning. It's ridiculous,
Right.
And so, because I had those real life experiences, I put those into the book. There's a moment where, the papa, the father of Diana, is like, how many circles can you find on the court?
Right.
And it's like, like Diana finds the circles, and it's like it's just like I'm trying to encourage parents to not just see the classroom as the only learning environment.
Right.
Like every moment of the day could be a learning environment.
Right. Yeah. So how did you, I guess, 'cause I never thought about that before, like, trying to teach a child mathematics through basketball, like, ratios and looking at the shapes that's on the court and kind of breaking things down. How did you even come up with that, to even see that, on the court itself?
I'm a basketball nut, bro. Like, it's my whole life. Like, I mean, I don't want to give too much away about in the book, but during the pandemic, in real life, the New York City Parks and Recreation Department took down the rims, which was like, for me, like a horror story. Like, this is the
crazy.
This is the mecca of the sport worldwide outdoors, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden, like, all we have is a backboard. So I was taking my son to the park, and I would use the box behind the rim as my target. So that's in the book. The the father is using the box as the target in the book, but that's a box. That's geometry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the support systems for the backboards are triangles. That's geometry. So these are things that I had already. It's not like I went to the park thinking how can I infuse learning into my children's book? Not like that's already things that were in my head. I'm a photographer, amateur, but I've licensed photos to Nike and to Foot Locker and stuff. And I've taken photos of backboards because they're beautiful to me. Like, because again, like I'm just a basketball nut,
Right.
Like everything is beautiful to me. The cracks and the asphalt are beautiful to me. People be like, oh, they haven't fixed the court. I'm like, no, it's beautiful. Like, look at these, it gives so much texture. So I'm a little bit extra with my love and passion for basketball, but it's all in the book.
That's what's up. Now you said this term a couple times, unschooling, or you're unschooling your child. Yep. Can you elaborate on exactly what that term means? I've never heard it before.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's homeschooling, right, whereby a parent will elect to take their child out of public school or private school,
right,
and then they'll have them at home doing a curriculum.
Right.
Unschooling is giving the child the power to self-direct their learning, right? So children are naturally curious, right?
Right.
And, there's a ton of research that, if a kid is interested in what they're learning, more than likely they are going to be more tenacious and enjoy the experience, right?
Right.
So what we do in our household is we unschool our son, right? And so it's like it's also like, you go to school, like you're learning white supremacy, basically. You're learning principles of capitalism. You're learning a lot that can really create a mindset in a child as they go forward in life that could be not serving to the community or to the world, right? And so unschooling allows you take out the layer of patriarchal society. You take out the layer of whiteness. You take out the layer of capitalism, and you just allow the child to learn. And I take them to the park. We look at trees, and we're in the natural environments and animals and nature, and and so if like let's say like he loves coding, right? My son, so I make sure that I just facilitate, basically. I see he's into coding. All right, cool. You created a project. Why don't you write a description for it, or why don't you to respond to some comments? Now he's doing English. He don't even realize that he's working on his language arts while he's doing something he's really interested in.
Right.
So it's just a matter of liberating a child's mind, really. Yeah. And still, meeting the standards that the state has, because you can't just wild out and be like, so let my kid I have to do reports. Still to the local Department of Ed. And show them all the tools that we're using to learn math, social studies, U.S. history. But that's what unschooling is. What you're doing with your financial literacy for teens is unschooling. Because the bank system in the United States really wants us to depend on credit. Right. They want us to be dependent. Right. They don't want people of color to become independent. Right. Corporate America doesn't want financial literacy for the BIPOC community, because they want us to be consumers. If we think about how much money we spend on entertainment, products,
Right.
substance abuse, and if we take that and we become financially literate and be like, yo, we're gonna start a community bank. I'm gonna have my savings. I'm gonna become an entrepreneur. Like,
Right.
Even the college system in the United States is founded on capitalism, right? You go to private school, you pay $80,000 a year. Like, what if you took that $80,000 and invested in a business? I'm not saying that's for everybody, but I'm just saying, like,
right. Exactly.
Financial literacy is unschooling, your target audience, to think differently. It's not something that's in their curriculum in high school.
Right.
And so, we're looking eye to eye. We're both unschooling. I'm doing it. Well, I'm doing it in a grand scale because it's not just my son, but it's infused in my book, and you're doing it, to your community as well.
Malik's First Job, Financial Principles for Teens, is an excellent resource to get your children started on understanding the basics of financial literacy. This book, which is set in Brownsville, Brooklyn, about a young man who gets his first job and then shortly thereafter sits down with his dad to learn how to manage his money. There are several topics that are covered within this work, such as paying yourself first, disciplining your spending, knowing the difference between an asset and a liability, creating multiple sources of income, as well as the importance of being charitable. So again, if you want to get your children started on understanding finance and becoming responsible adults, we highly recommend that you purchase the book, Malik's First Job, Financial Principles for Teens. So please visit maliksfirstjob.com to get more information. Peace. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
I like your HBCU. I don't want people to think that I'm anti college higher education.
HBCU made.
That's a dope. It's a dope sweatshirt.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So where do you see this book going? Where do you want this book to go?
I want it to go everywhere. I think personally, I would love to see it adapted into an animated short, potentially a TV series.
Right.
I think it has all the potential for that. But I also know that I have to build a stronger foundation for it as a book first before someone can, take the amount of money to put towards a budget to adapt it. But I want to see it at the Schomburg Library. Schomburg was Afro-Boricua. He's one of the people who coined the term, 80, 90 years ago. And the main character is Afro-Boricua. So I would love to see it at the Schomburg. I spoke with the New York Public Library just last week and about incorporating the book into their programming and having me do virtual engagements for some of their outreach for literacy. And it's not just the New York Public Library. I would love to do that nationwide. I'd love to do that globally. And I think this book can really affect people positively, just as my films and just as my radio show in the 90s with Stretch and just as my basketball tournament, Full Court 21. I love being inclusive, not exclusive. I don't want the book to be like the super rare, only 2,000 people know. Nah, I want the book to be like
everywhere,
like,
everywhere.
But that's a struggle when you're with the independent publisher, So I've been creative with the marketing and the outreach. Like it's available at basketball organizations, record shops, sneaker boutiques. If you go to aimhighlittle.giant.com and click on buy local, you're going to see a lot of shops. It's like 3 actual bookshops. The rest of them are like just not where you would think to find a kid's book. And it's been selling out. There's a coffee shop in Portland called Concourse Coffee, and it's a basketball coffee shop. It's a basketball themed coffee shop. They took the book. They sold out of it in 1 week.
Oh wow!
I'm like, word, cool. Like let's keep that going. So they reordered it, and the Kennedy Center is picking it up for their gift shop as well as considering it for some programming. And so I'm just, it's, to me, it's paso a paso, poco a poco. I mean, step by step, little by little. I'm just, trying to get it out there and, and just for whoever receives it. I mean, you can look at aimhighlittlegiant.com customer reviews. There's like 34 customer reviews. 33 of them are 5-star. Yeah. One is 4-star, still with a positive review. I mean, like, I got something special with this book, And if it takes like just baby steps to get it out there, then so be it, Right. It warrants attention, though.
Yeah.
And ain't one person that's ready yet that's come back to me, but like, yo, nah, it's whack. Like, nah. Yeah. The book is incredible. Yeah. I'm not saying that because I wrote it. Like, it's
right.
If I
can testify.
Yeah,
I can testify. The book is tight.
I wish I had a book like this when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's funny because, I put my book out last year and, I self-published as well. And, and people often ask me about the experience, what is it like being a self-published author trying to get your book out? Mm-hmm. I'm like, it's just like being compare it to music, like an independent artist, where you out there on the grind, because you don't have that big machine pushing you. So, you have to do it yourself. So you got a whole lot of guerrilla marketing, thinking outside the box. How can I get the book in different hands? So for you to say that, to see that you're going through the same process.
Dude, like I'm a known dude. Like, people consider me a legend in sneakers and hip hop and a major contributor to basketball culture worldwide. And like, I'm still struggling. I've called 50, 60 bookshops.
Yeah.
I say about like 5, 6 have even had the courtesy to respond to my DM. Yeah. Or my email or my phone call. It's like, and I'm a known dude. Like, I can't imagine, what it's like to be an author who's self-publishing, who's like, on the come up, it's like, that's even a harder struggle. So props for what you're doing.
I appreciate it.
I can identify, like, I got 72,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I got the blue dot and I'm hitting up bookshops with the blue dot and they see that respond. I'm like, dang, like, for real? Like, my book will sell at your shop. Right. It's not like I'm throwing you a dud. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not like I'm throwing you like gold, Yeah. And, but, it's part of like, it's what we were talking about earlier, unschooling. It's easy for a bookshop to just order from the distributor, and then if they don't sell the book, they can send it back, returns, and and just have one invoice for 15 titles. I get it. Yeah. But guess what? I used to have a bookshop myself in the 90s.
Yeah.
I had a hip hop boutique called Footwork, and I would glow when the author would come in with books and be like, "Yo," I didn't be like, "Nah, I can't sell your book. It's not through a distributor." Like, nah, I'd be like, "Yo, here's cash." Because I know I got the exclusive on the book. And for me, it's, the whole purpose of having a mom and pop. If you're going to call yourself an indie bookshop, be about it. Support indie publishers. Support independently published authors,
Right.
Don't be a mom and pop and only sell, Simon & Schuster and Penguin. Like, to me, that's whack. That's super whack. For that, why don't you just throw it in the garbage and just become a franchise of Barnes & Noble or something, like, well, whatever. I'm digressing. I like to be a positive dude. So, but I feel you, man. I feel you.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people need to hear that because oftentimes, people struggle with their promotion. They think, wow, they isolated it by themselves. But to hear that you go through the struggle as well, I think, a lot of folks need to hear that.
Nah, no doubt.
Yeah.
My cousin, when I first posted about the book, and I said, go to aimhighlittlegiant.com, and she's like, is it available on Amazon? I'm like, why would you support big box, mega billion corporation? Like, yo, buy it directly from the publisher.
Yeah.
Buy it directly from a Black and Puerto Rican owned business. Talk about Malik's first job, financial principles for teens. Like, buy local. Support your own.
Exactly.
It's like, but people are just, again, like they got to be unschooled. Like they don't even think twice about Amazon, like, big corporation, doing terrible things to their employees, and the book is available at Amazon.
Right.
Because I don't suppose that everyone's going to know about the website, or know who I am. They might just be on Amazon looking for books.
Right.
Like, oh, wow, look at this cool book. Oh, I think I know this dude. Or maybe I don't know him, but, this book was cool. I'm going to buy it for little Johnny, So cool, rock out, but there's there's a lot that we have to address. And it's a constant, lesson,
Yeah.
I've been supporting independent businesses since the 1980s,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even before that, since the 1970s. But, in terms of my consciousness, when I got to the 80s, it was like, no. Like, if I got a choice between going to McDonald's or going to Florida de Mayo, I'm going to Florida Mayo,
Of course.
Like,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
No doubt. Yeah. So before we wrap up, man, is there anything that you want to let the people know?
Yo, go to aimhightlittlegiant.com. That's where you can buy the book. It's spelled exactly how it sounds. I don't want to assume that everybody can spell. So, no, for real, like just straight up, literacy is an issue in the United States, man, like hard body. So it's AIMHIGHLITTLEGIANT.com. And also, if you want to find out about what Kerwin was mentioning earlier, about my other exploits in film and publishing and radio and TV and sports, go to Cool Bob Love. That's KOOLBOBLOVE.com, and on all social media, TikTok, Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's KOOLBOBLOVE, Cool Bob Love. And thank you, Kerwin, and best of luck with your book, man. Appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for taking the time to come on the show, man. Appreciate you as well.
I told you I had like 15 minutes for you, and I want to, I was having so much fun, I want to talk with 33 minutes. But my son is actually taking a class right now, so I gotta check on him. Yo,
okay,
safe,
cool.
Peace, all right?
You too, my peace.
All right.
Generational wealth.